That's James's meal. It's a couple veggie burger patties and asparagus and stuff. And I'm going to talk about the law of attraction.
Okay.
They're by different people. So this one is Esther and Jerry Hicks. It's an audiobook. And this one is by Diane Alquist. And I'm going to talk about Genius. This series was really good. And, well, these other movies.
They're not too bad?
Yeah. I'll talk about
just
them.
Genius outdid them.
Yeah.
The Genius itself might have been something like a work of genius.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
So, first I think I will talk about these books because I want to get these notes out of the way. I've been meaning to talk about them. And, it's cold. Because it still hasn't warmed up really well, but it's way warmer than it's been. So, let's see. First I will talk about this one because my paper for that is on the top. And I didn't take notes until I think the 4th disc or something like that. But there's a lot of repetition, so I think it's okay. I'm not going to really go into, I'm not going to give any of me when I'm talking about that, or I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try to just give a little bit from my notes, the things that I actually got from the books themselves. So, Disc 4, The Law of Allowing. I am what I am. The experience of one needn't seep into the experiences of another. We don't need to band together. That promotes an attitude of fear. Thought plus emotion plus allowing, expectation, equals receiving. Thoughts are attractive magnets. Life experience brings your knowing, not words. You are a physical being and an inner being, body and soul. The inner being senses with emotion. Emotion is a good guide. When you feel a negative emotion, you are miscreating. Let others be who they are, even when they act in ways you don't like. Those who tolerate are feeling a negative emotion, so cannot feel freedom. But those who allow don't feel a negative emotion. Allow others to have the glory of their own creation. When looking at the solution, you feel positive. When looking at the problem, you feel negative. Let the one who chooses poverty have it, but try to uplift them to have something better. As you are healthy and wealthy, you inspire them to be healthy and wealthy. Be who you are and don't feel negative when others disapprove of you. You will know that you are allowing when you feel joy no matter what others think of you. Contentment comes from wanting, attracting, then allowing. Don't tolerate, allow. When your actions are in harmony with your intention, you feel joy. When others' actions aren't in harmony with your intention, you feel bad. But don't. See more abundance so you won't worry about the others who are shooting all of the buffalo, for example. Shield yourself from negative input. Head in the sand. To focus on what is important to you to receive contentment. Don't want to control one another. Allow Hitler to be Hitler. Look for what you want to see, and you will see only what you want to see eventually. Every day set the intention of seeing flowers, seeing beauty, and feeling joy and love. Eventually you will notice that there's little that you see and feel that aren't these things. Each day intend safety, harmony, and you will not find yourself in bad situations where any path there won't result in comfort. You cannot control the experiences of others, no matter how hard you try. Control your own experiences, attract what you want. When others disapprove of you, they are not allowing, should not, and need not block your allowing. Don't be a victim or you will continue to attract things and experiences that make you feel like you're a victim. There's no limitation of anything, so don't think about territorial rights over population of humans, for example. Aggressors who want to take everything you have cannot do so unless you let them do so. Life experience brings you knowing. You have lost your physical life many times. These death experiences have value. They bring you knowing. Accept yourself as awesome. The inner you wanted the experience of this body to gain better knowing. Don't have fear. Don't guard yourself. This is unnecessary when you set your intentions to have safety and well-being. Have deliberate intent. If you have concern that another will harm you and your experiences, you need to stop giving them your attention. Put your attention on that which will please you. I want to see love, beauty, safety, health, etc. You are eternally in the process of growth. Some things are in your experience now due to pre-paving, the clutter of past momentum. Control what you are giving your attention. Disc 5, segment intending. When answering the phone, you pick up the phone and you find out who it is, and then you pause for a minute and you go, okay, think about, like, direct what you want from that conversation. You've wanted a baby for years but couldn't. Once you adopt a baby, you get pregnant. You are focusing on the lack of a baby. Once you had a baby, your focus was not on the lack of a baby, so another came. So that's that one. And then this one here. Page 4. All matter is made of atoms which contain electrons. If energy, such as heat, is added to an atom, the electrons vibrate at a higher level. With enough energy, the atoms line up to produce a pulling effect that moves the atoms. Positive energy is high energy that results in a similar pulling effect. We transmit energy outside of ourselves to the universe that sends us more energy of the same sort that we put out. Focusing your gratitude, this page 17, only on the things that are to come has an unintended consequence. You send a negative, ungrateful vibe about the things you already have. Page 62, 3 parts of an affirmation, thought, habit, belief. Recline comfortably and relax. Don't do more than 3 affirmations. Focus. Repeat affirmations 5 to 10 times. Focus on meaning, not just words. Say, I am relaxed at least 3 more times, and then sleep. 72. Don't pity, have compassion. 81. Ask with passion and emotion. It may help to envision the recipient of your request, God or the universe, as a symbol. Sun, sky, stars, circle surrounding you, a box filled with your intent, infinity symbol. Ocean waves, anything that helps you. 83. If you can't connect your energy to that of the higher power when you make your request, you can't see the results you hope you'll see. Try lighting a candle, swimming, listening to music, contemplating nature, petting a dog, cat, communing with nature. Do these things or other things to help you meditate. You can ask for many things, but not many things at one time. Page 84. If you don't focus on one particular desire, your vibration for that thing won't stay strong. Focus for a strong vibration. 91. Don't ask for things you need. Need implies that you are lacking something. Lack attracts lack. Act for what you want. Ask for what you want. Page 126. Acknowledge your good health each day and show gratitude for it. Page 143. The law of attraction states that you have to want something and put real emotion behind it to make it happen. And then you must allow it to come into your life. Page 151. Your emotions are what you have to pay attention to. The happier you are, the happier you will be. Ditch negative vibes by not looking at social media for a while. Page 183. Peace will only come through compassion, open-heartedness, and forgiveness. You can't fight for peace. So, if you think about it, then somebody who, I mean, Hitler was really thinking he was right. Or say we're going on to this Einstein thing, so let's just go on to that. Now, this is a great little, I guess, mini-series to watch. Great acting, really well put together.
I've always liked that Jeffrey Rush.
So great.
Remember when he was playing the guy who was helping out George VI to learn how to speak?
Well, he's
and
always
learn how
done
to
a
get
great job, I
his
think.
Man, he did such a good job in that one.
And he did a great job in this too. And other actors did also. Very good.
Yeah.
So you're watching Albert Einstein through his adult life, right? Young adult and then older and whatever. And I mean, this is just semi-fictional, right? It's supposed to be a documentary, but there's a lot of things that, I mean, you can't possibly know what people's conversations were or whatever. So it's, I mean, there's a lot of that just would have been made up.
So you call it, I think, a mockumentary.
Okay.
There's acting in it,
Sure.
but it's.
I mean, you can't.
I
have
think
it.
they're trying to get an approximation. To
Yeah. So they're trying to make it as realistic as possible. You know, it's it's a lot of the things that happen, they've tried to put them sequentially, whatever. And you get this, first you have young Albert Einstein. He's totally flunking out in university. The only thing he can really do well is physics.
Well, there's two things, math and physics. Okay. But everything else.
But he has
flunking out.
like no knowledge of politics or anything like that. And anyway, he runs into this woman who's at university, and she's really good. She's also interested in physics and math and such things. And so they have, yeah. But she gets distracted because she falls in love with him, and they have this big romance instead. And they're not going to classes and stuff. And she ends up flunking out. And, you know, at one point she's like, I've got to focus, you know, I've got to get back, I've got to get caught up. And he's like, oh, I'll help you get caught up. Well, he doesn't. And she gets even further behind, right? Because she's sticking with him. And so he...
not her, him.
She gets pregnant. And some things happen anyway. But long story short, they end up getting married. And she's not in university anymore. But he's convinced her, okay, well, we're going to be partners. Well, it doesn't work out that way.
No.
And it... Eventually,
is she like typing his papers up and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, and I think quite a bit more than that. So they keep showing in the series. They contrast their relationship with the Currys, and which they had such a great relationship. They did awesome work together, and that husband was very supportive of his wife. He recognized her value and her contribution to their work. And he made sure that other people recognized her contributions to their work. And Albert Einstein did not. And there were many times where Albert Einstein's wife in this, she's like, he'll say something and she'll be like, yeah, like when people think you're absolutely invisible or whatever, and she's totally talking about herself, right? She's like, yeah, you don't recognize me at all and care about what I'm doing for you, right? And eventually, like, he's getting recognized. He's putting this work in as just his own, and he's getting recognized for the work, and she's just nothing. She's his housewife, right? And other women are like, oh, you must be so pleased to be the wife of such a genius, and she's just gritting her teeth, right? And then eventually they get divorce, and before that, his work is kind of petering off. You notice that while their relationship is not as strong, his contributions are not as strong, right? And it's obvious. And so eventually they get a divorce. She doesn't want to give a divorce, but he's been living with his female cousin. So they have a very strong relationship, and it's obvious he's not coming back. And so the wife grants him the divorce, but she says there's a lot of things that she says, okay, I'll give it, but these are my conditions, and he meets them. And one of them is if he gets recognized for a Nobel Prize, she gets the spoils, right? Because she deserved them, I think. I think it was her that did most of the work. And
could be.
Anyway, so there's a lot of things that happen in this show. I was watching it and thinking, wow, I really hadn't known very much about Albert Einstein, the usual, I suppose, but I did know that in this they present it as though Albert Einstein was had a pretty hefty part in the development of the atomic bomb, which he did not.
Had nothing to do.
And what he did is he wrote a letter on behalf of Leo Szilard. Is that his name? How do you pronounce that? How do you say that?
Well, it's spelled S-Z-I-L-A-R-D. In Hungarian, you say it Szilard. Okay. You say S-Z, kind of like our S.
So he wrote a letter on his behalf. But in doing so, he blocked Szilard from getting, from actually being more of a part of his own creation. than he should have been. Because the FBI was watching Einstein, and I think rightfully so. He had been cohabiting with a Russian agent who was obviously trying to get information about the development of the atomic bomb. And but I mean, they were watching him all the way along, and I think rightfully so, even before he got on with her, because there was one point where he was trying to prove that he was back in university, not in America. He was in Europe still. So he was in university where he worked, and he got a bunch of people together to try to get funding and whatever, so that he could get some people sent to Russia during an eclipse that was going to happen, so that they could photograph the stars, so that he could prove that gravity bends light. So anyway, the long story short on that is the people that he's had sent over to Russia, they get captured and they get beaten. I mean, Albert Einstein himself, safe at home. These guys get captured, and then they're only released because some Russians have been traded for them. So you got to ask, okay, well, what? Yeah, they're held hostage. So who were these Russians that the Russians ended up getting in exchange for these scientists?
They'd be spies.
Yeah, and you'd have to wonder, okay, well, was Albert Einstein a part of this beforehand? So was he the one who set up this whole plan so that the Russians could get those spies back, right?
It could be, or he could have been so dumb he was used, the Russians to say, hey,
who knows,
come on, send some folks there.
Who knows what happened, but in any case, it seemed, when I saw that, the Russians capturing those people who were going to photograph for Einstein, I thought, oh, okay, so Einstein's working with the Russians. And anybody would think that, if they had any sense at all. So when the Americans were watching them, well, of course they were. They would have to be really foolish to not watch him. And then they had this, they were trying to make out in this video that, oh, well, Einstein still was contributing. He was doing the math and stuff. He was just doing it in secret. And they had, they were exchanging papers in secret, but no, nobody can know anything about it. And it's like, okay, well, if nobody can know anything about it, it didn't happen, because they can't know anything about it. So why would anybody believe that Einstein had it? But that's a common fiction that is still presented to the public, that Einstein was absolutely essential to the creation of the atomic bomb, which he was not.
So in case you think we're not qualified to make the judgment,
James,
I knew a Japanese prof of physics, kind of like subatomic physics. What he wrote his dissertation on, as I recall, was on the eta particle. I don't know if they even recognize its existence anymore. And that guy was a graduate of Princeton, or he went to Princeton and he graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. That's 2 of the 8 Ivy League universities in the world. And that's 1/4 of them. Now, I can remember asking him, I recovered from cancer, I think at least once, maybe twice, so he was getting on, he was over 80. I'd known him since the 70s, mid-70s. And it was maybe 30 years later. I was asking him a variety of different things, but I said, did you know Tominaga? Who's Tominaga, you're asking? Do some reading. If you do know, good. But you should. But All he said, he was humble about this. He wasn't that humble about a lot of things, but he just said, well, he was my something like he was my thesis advisor. What's the thing about Tominaga? Well, he only won the Nobel Prize. Okay? Thesis advisor. So this little physicist kind of knew his, we'll say, spit, but sometimes I use rhyming slang, maybe not now. But I can remember saying to him a while back when I was young and relatively foolish, so Einstein helped develop the bomb, right? E equals mc squared, that's a lot of power. E is energy. M is mass, and C is the speed of light, which is incredibly high. It's just big, big high number. And all the little physicists said, when I said, well, he helped create the atomic bomb, he said, oh, is that what you think? Eh? It was just, you know, it's not up, you know, like, it wasn't as though he felt emotional about it, you know, that he, or whatever. It's just, oh, is that what you think? Well, that's kind of boring, because that's what everyone who doesn't know what's going on thinks. Eh? So, go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Anyway,
but, yeah.
You can read a really good book about that by Richard Rhodes called, I think it was called The Making of the Atomic Bomb. Something like that. So, do read it. It's long, but it's actually well written. It's not boring.
Exactly right. So I'd recommend reading it. I disagree with his conclusions, but about how culpable the Americans were about dropping the bombs and stuff like that. The Japanese were whacking people they killed using scorched earth policy. This in 1945. The war did not last all of 1945. My sources say they killed 1 million Vietnamese people. When you do scorched earth policy, like the Russians with Charles XII of Sweden, or the Napoleon of French infamy, on your own country, that's one thing. But when you're Japanese and do it in Vietnam, that's another thing. And the big trouble is when the bombs were dropped, there were 1 million troops. Well, there weren't quite so many, because there were a lot of them in Hiroshima. But 1 million troops in Japan. But the Japanese army had 2 million troops. Where are the other 1 million? On the mainland of Asia. And they would have been continuing that scorched earth policy in China. They'd already killed. I'm going to go with a lower figure, that I've run across 10 million Chinese people. That's outside of the 1 million Vietnamese people they killed using scorched earth policy. But I've run across one source that says it's 15 million. So when people squawk and cry and scream about, let's say, 150,000 people getting killed in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, or in Hiroshima itself, I go, I feel bad for the kids. But that just doesn't compare with 10 or 15 million, with the possibility of 1 million or more getting killed by the Japanese using scorched earth policy in China, in Korea. No, no, no. Richard Rhodes is wrong. The Americans were right to use the bomb. It shortened that war, not just in Japan, but on the mainland of Asia. It saved hundreds of thousands of lives of innocent people, people who'd been taken over by the Japanese. It's probably saved over 1 million people on the mainland of Asia. Mainland of Asia. I'm not talking about all the Japanese lives it saved. Right?
So, with the law of attraction, if you have people, you have a group of people, they've all went through public education, and you think, okay, well, you know, they've all gotten the same opportunities for education along the way. But a bunch of those children that are in school are going to be aggressive, and if they're firstborns, then when they were little babies, then it was like they were the center of the universe, and they got all the attention, and that's what they are going to be accustomed to get their whole life. Really, they want to be little princes their whole life, or kings, actually, and it usually works out pretty well for them. Our system is actually designed to help those firstborn sons succeed more than others. And in the public education system, you have the whole mix. You have all these passive little children who they actually care about animals going extinct or other people's feelings or whatever. And then you have some sociopaths mixed in there, and who's going to get what they want? You know, if you have those people mixed in together, well, the passive people are going to be abused all the way along through the education system. So it's raising them to, the system is actually raising them to be victims and to just settle for being servants or whatever. And whereas with the law of attraction, you have a sociopath, well, they're going to get everything they want, you know. So how's that? So it's something to think about.
You gotta put your foot down with folks like that, preferably on their neck.
So, The Invention of Lying, starring Richard Rhodes, which he's a very obvious aggressive propagandist that most people don't really like. Because
he was the guy in the original of Office.
Yeah,
right?
and
he's very good.
He is, but you don't really like him. You kind of, you know, even when you laugh at his jokes or whatever, you're like, I don't know, right? And so that I think that really that's why the American version of The Office ended up succeeding so much better than the original British.
I gotta say, I prefer. I get the impression it might be just a role. Steve Carell's kind of a sweet guy.
Yeah, you
right?
want to like him. Even when you think he's a fool or whatever, you want to
Total
like him.
fool.
Whereas with Ricky Gervais, or Gervais,
I don't know how they
like
mispronounce it. It's a very French name.
So in any case, this one it's a kind of fake. It's interesting. It's a kind of alternate reality where nobody knows, nobody lies, and so Ricky Gervais' character, he was the first one to lie. And it worked out really well for him. So, anyway, it's worth watching.
Oh,
but
there he is.
I mean, just because somebody lies about something doesn't mean that their lies weren't true. But it doesn't mean that what they lied about wasn't true anyway. It's something to think about. Cold Call. Now they call this a thriller. I would not, but it's about a woman who, she gets a call on the phone and she thinks that it's the person presents things as though she's been her accounts have been hacked and somebody is trying to bleed her dry, when in fact they are going to do that, right? And so she falls for it, and she loses all of her savings, $83,000. And the police are like, well, we're not going to find it. You know, you did this, and it's, most of the time we don't end up helping people. It doesn't work out, right? It's lost. And so she takes matters into her own hands, and you're watching it and going, oh, this is really not believable and whatever. But anyway, it's interesting enough, I guess. Dead Again was terrible. This was the bottom of the stack. And it really, I think some people watched Shaun of the Dead and they thought, oh, well, we're going to do that. We're going to do a movie like that.